You know my story, right? Rise to fame from the pain to glory, right?
So yeah, so Elise Acoustic, and yeah, I just play all around this area, and I love it. Yeah,
that's awesome. So you grew up here in Westchester?
Yes, I grew up. So I've grown up in Downingtown. My parents both lived in Westchester their whole lives. We've pretty much grown up in Westchester, but yeah, and I love the area around here is so awesome. Like I live 10 minutes out, like in Downingtown, so it's just like it's so awesome, and everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
I don't think I've gone into the town of Westchester at all without seeing at least 4 people I know. Like
that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So what's it like? I mean, what's it like as I remember when I was starting out, literally I was the same age as you when I started this business.
Yeah.
Or shortly after. And I was working with other bands, with Toy Soldiers and Ron Gallo.
Yeah.
And so that was the original bands I was working with. And they were the same age as you.
Yeah.
And I was joking around that I was 21, and they didn't tell me their age. And I definitely bought a lot of drinks over there. And I was like, I remember a year into it. I was like, they eventually were a year into our relationship, and they ended up telling me. And I was like, oh my god,
so funny.
Tell me, take me back, to you're 19 years old, and I totally respect what your mom says, because I'm a dad as well.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. My daughter's 14 years old, and it's one of those things where, take me through when you first started playing music. Was it always guitar? Did you tinker with instruments prior, or making up instruments?
So I always was very I would sing along to whatever. My dad plays guitar. Him and my mom, my mom sings sometimes, but they just mess around. So I grew up with all that in my house. So I would always sing along. I love to sing. I tried to learn how to play piano. After I learned how to play on the black keys, I quit. My uncle was just teaching me and I don't know. I played some other I played violin for a year, hated it because it was too strict. I can't. And so then this is kind of a longer story, but pretty much I was a competitive dancer, and I also played soccer my whole life. And when I was 13 years old, I had a really bad concussion. Also, I had been homeschooled for the year of 6th grade because I was trying to spend more time in the dance studio. It was where I thought my entire life was going. Then I broke my wrist and foot. Different things happened to both of those, but it was at the same time. I had to ride one of those scooters. And so then the day I was supposed to be going back to dance, I got a really bad concussion, broke the bone under my eye. Someone jumped on my face or literally, I'm so accident prone. But anyway, so I literally was devastated because I couldn't go back to dance. And then they were like, okay, you can't come back regardless because you're too far behind. And it was a very competitive, we were competitive dance. So it was crazy. So my world was done. I was okay, literally my entire passion, everything is gone. And I was 13 years old. So I was okay, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I picked up a guitar that we've had in the basement because I had a really bad concussion. I wasn't even supposed to draw because that was too much for my brain. So I was okay, I'll get the cow guitar. It's this old guitar. It has cow outlines with Van Gogh paintings. It sounds terrible now. I played it out. I don't know how.
You have a photo?
Oh, I definitely do. I'll show you after. Oh yeah. But yeah, so I picked it up and I was Dad, can you teach me how to play a couple chords? I just want to learn something. So I just learned one song, and then I kept playing it. Then I was okay, I want to go play somewhere. And my dad was okay, let's go to Steel City, in Phoenixville. And they have an open mic every Thursday night. And so we go to Steel City, and I played my first not a gig, it was an open mic, but I just played my first thing there. It was awesome. I've been on stage my whole life, so I think that I was so not nervous. It was kind of scary how I was hey guys, what's up? I'm Elise. I'm
that was your first show?
Yes.
And you're 13.
Yes. And so I just played my couple songs, and everyone was oh my gosh, you're so good. And I was oh, okay, this is kind of fun. I'm liking this. And I thought everyone there was so cool because they were so awesome. So that was my first thing. And then I kept doing open mics for a while. And then I got my first gig actually at Stolen Sun in Exton because I played an open mic there, and they were can you do a gig here? And I was yeah, I do it all the time, like for sure. And we have our own like equipment stuff because my dad's been playing for a while. So I had my first gig there, and then it just like took off. Like people pretty much helped, especially in Westchester. So then I had a gig at like Turk's Head. I don't remember the order of like the rest of my gigs, but when I started playing at Turk's Head, a couple other like business owners and stuff would hear, and then be like, oh, people here, people here. So pretty much that's how like it got started, and then it just kept taking off. My Instagram kept taking off. I was being talked about, and I kept getting gigs like left and right. And I would call places. My mom would, but I would like. Then I started learning how because I was like, I can't offer any of this because I need to be the one doing it. And so then I just started calling places and getting in, and like it took off, and that was such an awesome thing for me through high school also, because high school I had 4 knee surgeries, and I took a 5th one actually, but I had 4 knee surgeries, and I like couldn't really work because I kept like having surgeries and like being in a full leg lock brace. So it was an awesome thing that like still got me some money to pay my gas, my like phone bill, like, all that. And it was like and I loved to do it. So it was like so amazing, like growing up and just like having that be a thing that I'm so passionate about and love. And then also have it be something that makes money. Like that was like, I was like, is this even real right now?
So you're 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, and all of that, so all those years in high school, you're making money.
Yeah.
And you created your own path.
Yeah.
And all your friends are working fast food. And
and they're getting like, and I was like working, like I'll work for, I was like, they would be like, oh, how much do you get paid for like, and I was like, I mean, at the beginning, I was getting like, probably like, for a 2-hour gig, I'd get like 150 at the beginning. And like, that was still like my friends were like, that's how much I make in a week. Like, and I'd be like, oh, like I'm actually making money right now. Yeah.
That's cool. So when you're writing your music, has your obviously from 13 to 19, your songs have changed, your songs have evolved.
Definitely.
What was the type of music? What were you writing about at 13?
So when I was like 13, it was mostly, honestly, it's a little bit the same still. There's like definitely like a couple differences, like just skill wise, and like I've learned how to actually like make a song like flow and like, better and stuff. But at the beginning, it was really just about, I'm like not good at talking about my emotions at all. I like to just be happy all the time and silly. Yeah. But I was going through a lot as a kid. Like I had so many injuries and like my knee surgeries. I had one of my really close friends die. Like all of these things. And so my first song was actually called Pain, which is like so emo of me. But it wasn't an emo super song. But like it's honestly just like a lot of my songs were just about like how people feel. And I think the first time I ever realized how much writing has an effect on other people was I played like my first ever song for one of my friends at school, and she just started like bawling her eyes out, and I was like, oh, like whoa. And I think that was a song about, actually I don't know if that was my first one, but it was like, so one of the lines is, I'm trying to be like my best friend, like my cousin, like my crush or something, like trying to be like other people. And she was like, I always try to be like other people, like, and just like, and then I just kept making originals and people kept crying at them. And I was like, why are people crying? Like, what is going on? But then it clicked and I was like, wow, like people relate to this. This like touches people's hearts. And that's what I thought was so cool about, and like that's like what has triggered me to keep going. Even some of my covers, like some people at my gigs would be like, I felt how you sang that. And like, that's just the coolest part.
I have to say, like, so I am a fan of cover bands and covering songs when they're done with your own voice.
Exactly.
And I gotta admit, like, I looked up some of your stuff online last night, and like that is true. Like you're not just putting the cover out, the album version. You know, just to appease everybody, because that's what people do.
Yes,
you have to put every fourth song, throw covers, keep their ears, keep their eyes, but you do it in a really nice way. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Every song that I sing, I like to just, if you feel the words that you're singing, it like people can tell. Like people can tell if you're just oh, like reading the chords, like sometimes I definitely have to read
Yeah.
chords
Oh,
because
yeah.
I do long gigs.
Yeah.
But like people can tell if you're just reading them and like singing whatever. Even if your voice is awesome, people are like, oh, that's a cool song, but people aren't feeling it unless you're feeling it. Like if you're like, whoa, like if you're connected with the song, like and you're like getting into it, like people can feel that and it really affects people. It's just so cool, yeah.
Well, it's a real. People don't realize too. Like, you know, a lot of times it's like, oh, I got to go do this, I got to do that. But if you're in a position where your energy is the asset,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes the people will be like, oh, this musician canceled this show because their throat wasn't working. Whatever. That's so lame. It's not the same because it's not literally if you can't as a musician or an artist put yourself 100% to that situation,
Yeah.
it's not the experience.
Yeah.
And therefore it's worthless.
Exactly.
It's everybody's time's wasted.
Exactly. And like I think another thing that is really important to be able to do, but it's maybe not a good thing sometimes, but I'm really good at flipping that switch, turning all of what's happening on the outside out and just locking into my music.
If you're 19, if you're able to do
Yeah.
that, I'm gonna say like at some age 20 years still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
If you can figure that part out to compartmentalize your emotions, it's tough.
It's like something that I've also been like in therapy. They're like, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, but sometimes I actually have to.
I went into therapy to learn how to do it, and they told me not to.
Yeah.
I'm like, I came here for this answer.
Yeah, because like in life, you should probably process things, but I for instance, literally recently, I pretty much.
You feel so. Don't feel
Yeah.
bad because you feel everything. So here's the
Yeah.
difference. Majority of people don't feel
Yeah.
things, and I don't mean, hey, I love this person or I
Right.
love that land. No, like I can already tell. Same with Nikki and everything like that.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps going the entire time
Yes.
since you walked in. Like there's an energy, there's a vibe, there's a frequency.
Yeah.
It's not a common thing.
Yeah.
So don't never be like yeah. It's just, and that's why you probably feel overwhelmed. I've just learned this recently. Probably feel overwhelmed at festivals because you feel so many people's energy.
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Even I look around, I'm like, whoa, there's so much up here. Sometimes I'm just like, ah.
Exhausting. It's physically.
Yes. After, oh my gosh, I'm at the second both years since after festival. Whenever I get home, boom, I'm asleep right away. Like my body's so drained, but in the best way.
Yeah,
like
you're just bringing in all that energy. Yeah.
But back to like shutting down. Like I literally a couple weeks ago, pretty much, I was like talking to this guy, which I'm 19, of course I was. But I'm very much, I don't ever like to, like, I'm very much like, I just like to keep my options open. I don't like to lock in with anyone. But I was really getting close to this guy, and then the whole thing happened, and he was like, okay, I don't think I actually want to do whatever. And it was right before my gig.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I haven't cried in 2 years, and I shed a couple tears. And I was like a little shaky, and I was like, and then I got there, and I was like, okay, time to pull it together. Sucked in all the emotion. I was like, hey, because it was for a retirement party or something, and I was like, hey, how's everyone doing? Like, you know, and like I think it is so important to be able to do that in this space, because sometimes when you're having a terrible day, you need to lock in and make people feel happy and excited.
There was honestly when I started doing this podcast, I was going with volume. So I was booking every hour on the hour for 7 to 8 hours a day.
Wow, that's crazy.
I was also dealing with a ton of personal things.
Yeah.
And there were days where like I was rescheduling episodes.
Yeah.
And people were just like, listen, you rescheduled this twice. Why don't you get your time management under control and things like that? And I was like, I didn't take offense to it at all. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. But I was also like, I wrote back to each of them, and I was like, honestly, I was like, listen, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. I'm a one-man show. And I said, if I went on camera and recorded something that I would live online forever, it would be bad for you, it would be bad for me, it would be bad for everybody. And they're just like, half of them understood it and rescheduled, and then half of them were like, well, that's, I'm like, well, that's fine. And I said, that's fine, actually. And I wrote back to each of them, I said, your reaction actually tells me it's not really something I want to work with now.
And also, those are the same people that don't know how to shut it off, and that would react the same way. Like
people look at me and they're surprised when I say that. Because they're like 6'3", almost 300 pounds. I'm like, dude, I got fucking days where I don't want to get up.
Yeah, dude,
and it's not like because I'm lazy. It's because I'm overwhelmed with whatever million stressors are going on. I feel that. I get excited to meet people like you at your age, and like to understand. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I will speak for my generation. therapy was always never, therapy was nothing. Therapy was where weak people went, where therapy was, your parents didn't talk about it. And this is no dig on our parents.
No.
It just wasn't part of the culture.
Yeah.
You never, if you met a 19-year-old who was in therapy in my generation, at my age at 19,
would be clowned on.
there was something.
Yeah.
It was such an extreme that there was a problem.
Yeah.
So what happened was, with that being 100% of people's perspective, therapy automatically was like, you're like, one step away from the cuckoo's nest if you're going there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
my dad, he just started doing therapy this year because he literally couldn't. He was like, because he grew up, that's just like how he grew up. And I've actually had a weird relationship with therapy because, like I said, I'm so bad at talking about my emotions. And so, like, that's why I write my songs. But I've had to learn just because I've had like a lot of like trauma and things where I've like had to, like I used to have like really bad PTSD dreams and things, and I would have like, that's why I literally had to go to therapy. But before that, my mom would like make me go to therapy like for like, because I had so many broken bones as a child, because I just am silly.
I was wondering if you're lashing out in that way.
And so I like had to start going to therapy when I was little. I hated it, and I would not even go. And so I just didn't do it for a long time until like recently again I had to start, because I was like, okay, you almost have to be in a place where you're like, I'm ready to, and I think therapy will help. You need to, if you're not there, it's not helping. Like,
I started it too early. I started it too early.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then I hated it. And then now I'm like, okay, I like therapy. I can talk about things in a way, and like it, and also it's so important about who you go.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Because I had really weird luck with them when I was little.
In like 2 years.
Yeah, and I was like, this lady's more awkward than I am, and I'm a kid. Okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like she felt more uncomfortable than me. I was like.
Yeah, as soon as I told one guy like some story, and he was like, his reaction was like, I was like, yeah, if you're already judging me, I was like, I'm out. I was like, I'm out. So I move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But you're right though. It's one of those things where, with therapy and with anything. So what I was getting back was the self-reflection.
Yeah.
So like with your dad and your mom and our generation, like we didn't do self-reflection. Yeah. If somebody didn't jive with you, fuck them.
Yeah.
And it was never find another way to connect, or it was always just like move on, or it was just like they're wrong, or whatever else. And to see the way that your generation especially embraces feelings and emotions and embraces collaboration and embraces it, it's so exciting.
It's cool.
It's so exciting to have this conversation.
And I think that art in general has gotten better because of how people are expressing their emotions through it.
There's nothing wrong with it. And that's the thing is, the problem is we didn't do it.
Yeah.
And the problem, and I will say this, and I have no problem saying to people, the reason we exist societally with this divisiveness is because we spent years burying our emotions.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we have a problem, and we don't understand how to connect with people because we've always buried our emotions. So the people that are in charge are emotionally incapable of they believe, here's what they believe. They believe they have corporate emotional intelligence. And what does that mean? Well, you go to your job, you're a fake piece of shit, and you come home, and then you're a great dad or you're a great mom. But during the day, you're an asshole. Yeah. And that's okay, because what I did at work is work, and what I do at home is home. And where I've never done this is they've all been the same world to me. Yeah. So if my life at work, if I was being an asshole at work, I was an asshole at home. If I was an asshole at home, I was an asshole at work. They never were divided. Yeah. And I think that where you guys are doing a great job is making that more mainstream and saying, like, yeah, your job and your home is not separate. Yeah. It's all of your life. It's all your life. And it's all how you're acting to other people and how you're loving other people and how you're connecting with other people. Since I've been younger, like, I've always thought every interaction, I want the person that I'm talking to, which has gotten me into some bad situations because I'm too loving sometimes and too nice. I've been told. From my experience, I'll tell you to pump the brakes on that. Yeah, I'm like all my friends are like, Elise is too nice to people, but I'd rather be that than me. But also, since I've been younger, like, I want every interaction I have with people to make them feel loved. Yep. Like, that's always how I felt. That's always how I've tried to, like, interact. Even if people are being so mean and foul, I just want to love them, and I just want to show them love, because then maybe they'll start to be like, oh, maybe Are you at the age of experience now where you're starting to see when somebody's taking advantage of you? Yes, I've recently, because
That's something I've struggled with for a pretty long time, just because I've been taking.
I was in my 30s before I realized it, so don't worry. If you can figure it out now.
I realize it now. I'm still trying to learn how to actually start cutting people off, or I'm so bad at that. I'm so freaking bad at that. It's not even funny.
You want to get all the best credit.
Yes, and even if someone does me, like, people have done some crazy, terrible things, and I still want to love them, which there's some times where I just need to, like, love them from a distance. And that's what I'm trying to learn how to do, and I'm trying to be better about that.
Do you know that somebody told me this, and it helps me a lot, because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I can tell you funny stories through marriages and also through dating. Is like where you go. I was the guy that went way too hard, way too fast. Like it was either like they were like, yeah, I'm not ready for that, or it's like it just ran for the hill.
Yeah.
You know? And so I could tell you, and I remember being 19 and 18 and stuff like that. But my point of what I'm trying to get back is when you get to a point where you can see. Also, I got taken advantage of a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm getting at. Is at first I got taken advantage of by girlfriends, and then I got taken advantage of by friends. And then it became really impactful because I still hadn't figured out the siren and the flag yet. So I was ignoring it because I wanted to be loved and I wanted to love.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the business part came in and I got successful in business and the stakes got higher, but I still hadn't got trained myself and I got started taking advantage of the business.
That sometimes has happened to me too. And I'm very bad at, I don't like confrontation either. So I'm not good at advocating for myself. And it started like with boyfriends and stuff like that, and then also just guys. Some men are so terrible, and like I've gotten taken advantage of in so many different ways, and that was a big wake up call. Like, okay, like it's getting real. Yeah. You need to actually like say something, and like still I'm not good at that, but it's just something that people need to grow in. But also then there's some people like those people that are taking advantage of who need to learn from people like us and.
That's it.
Learn how to love. There needs to be a balance, and it's hard to find a balance.
And the thing is, sometimes, like when you're in there, and we'll get back to look around.
Yeah.
But when you're in that, and whether it be that when you're the person on the other end, and I've been, admittedly, I'm not. I don't want to paint a picture of a 20-year career of my life. 39 years perfect. I've done shit things. I've become an ego. I've gotten success at it. I got really successful in my 20s. Mm-hmm. Became very egotistical for a couple of years, and like it went to my head, and different things like that happened. With that, though, looking back at 39, talking to somebody like yourself who is self-reflective and knowing that is a societal thing in that age group, that people can be self-reflective and taking inventory. Yeah. That's where real magic happens for growth of everything. Yeah. So with all that, we'll wrap that part and go back to your music. Like, let's go to your music and let's go to your creative process. Yeah. What types of, like, I saw some stuff online and things like that. What are the topics that you discuss? And it's everything, pretty much everything's what they hear is real, or do you do a little artistic stories and stuff like that, where people might be like, she told that story in that song, and then they're like, it wasn't,
Most of it is real.
Or if you want to keep it a secret, that's okay.
No, most of it is very real. I'm trying to think. I don't think any of it is
terrible.
Yeah, I really just because like I said, my emotions. The only time I talk about them is in my songs. Yeah. So they're very real songs, and I'm trying to think. My topics range from like boys, obviously, because a lot of them were when I was also in like middle school and high school, and I'm like in love with like my best friend, like that kind of thing. But then also, I have a song that is probably my favorite because it's so where I'm at right now. It's called This Little Girl, and it's about being in that space between like being an adult and being a kid. Nice. And like, I have my own apartment, but like, I don't want to buy toilet paper. That's stupid. I don't even want to do that. I forgot about that today. Yeah, and so. Like, I don't know, and also just like being in that spot of like my parents kind of still have a say, but like not really. And then also there's been some like me and my mom's relationship's not awesome. It goes in waves, obviously. That's all parents. Yeah, especially like it's so hard. Like like a daughter and mom relationship is such a like tricky thing. My dad, me and him have always been very close, which has been awesome, and I'm like grateful for that. And it's just kind of about like the judgment of that, and also like just wanting to get out. Like a lot of my life I've been injured and like all this stuff has happened. And I've wanted to I felt like the need to escape kind of, and I want to travel. Like one of my biggest passions is traveling. I loved it, and I'm gonna live in a van and do the West Coast. That's like my 2-year plan. Like eventually I'm gonna have a van. I've gone to Hawaii and lived there for a little bit. Anyway, like I just love to travel, and this song is also about like traveling, and like it says like the need to travel to fill the void, like stuff like that. So that's some of my songs, and then also just about like deep pain and being there for someone when you're in pain, but also being the person that people come to like when they're in pain, and like just like that, like honestly mostly hard topics.
That's good, and that's a good thing. And knowing that that's your outlet and that's the comfort zone in which you express yourself. And I find it so fascinating. Of course, I have some fun songs too. Absolutely. Yeah, like I find it fascinating when people like yourself like. You're willing to share it to the world, but like having, but that's okay, and that's what's really fun about it. Like
it's cool, and it's also in a way where it doesn't feel as real. Because like you asked me, like, are they all real? People don't know, like, and then I feel more comfortable saying because I'm like, well, maybe they just pranking now, and this is just like a story. And I think that like helps for sure tell it. But yeah, and I think that. I don't know, it's cool. I think a lot of this generation is very like they'll talk. I think sometimes it gets a little weird when people are just like talking online about like all their. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, but also if that's your prerogative, like go for it.
Well, I found that like the people that talk solo online, it's to the camera. I don't judge them as much anymore after trying 2 different times to do an episode by myself on camera. We talk about weird shit because you don't know what to do.
You're just like,
So like sometimes I'm like, I judge people when they were doing solo episodes. And I'm like, I'm done judging them.
It's like, have you seen the show Alone where they drop people off? Those like the camera, I'm always like, but also like I would be talking about such weird things.
So I used to. So I'll be actually. I never told this publicly. So here you go. All right, you're taking me back. So when I was in high school. I used to, now I'm going to date myself. My camera was like a big camera. It wasn't a phone.
Oh, yeah.
I used to record I used to like do video journals to myself.
I wish you could.
I might be out. My dad is a pack rat, so he probably has them in the house.
That's awesome.
And I actually want to find them now that we're sitting here. Like, I'm viscerally feeling having that it may have been the lion's mane this morning, but that memory just came back to me. So go through your process of like when you're creating a song, is it how fast from, and this could be, I don't want to speak in exact formula terms because nothing is a formula. But like, is it like a same day something happens and then it hits you and then you're like, is it phone? Is it writing? How do you take the light bulb and then put it?
So I used to just do a notebook, and I would pretty much I feel like it wasn't usually the same day, but sometimes it is. But sometimes I would just have a line in my head and be like, oh, I love that. And like it's a perfect way of saying how I'm feeling. So I'm like, okay, I'll make a song. I have to sit down right then and sometimes get it out, or else I will totally forget because I have a brain first. But so anyway, so I'm always like, I need to get on this right now. And I used to write a couple lines, then figure out a like chord progression. And then I would keep doing the chord progression and write more and like make it sound. And then I have never written a song like over days. Like it's always just been like an hour or two. Like I've never written a song over a period of days. It's one sit down and I finish a song. Isn't that kind of weird?
It's awesome. That's my podcast style. Is like everybody. I don't know these people. No. It's like you walked in here. And what did I do? Have a seat. Come here. Have a seat. Our camera. That's.
Yeah, and so like that's how I write. But then I started. I lose things really. I'm really good at losing things, and so I lost so many songs because I would just lose the notebook they were in. I tried to just have one notebook, lost that one.
My notebooks are laid out.
And so I started doing it on my phone, like, but the same thing, just like typing the words and then the chords over it, and like I have usually a paper copy and a copy on my phone every time.
Do you feel like from a memory standpoint, and specifically for me, if I write it, it's better. I remember it longer than if I type it.
That's how I am. Even in high school, like everyone nowadays has their iPads and stuff. I'd always my favorite. People would look at me like, oh, you're writing on a paper and pen? And I'd be like, dude, I will not. If I'm typing something, also, this is like, so like, if I'm typing something, first of all, it's taking forever. Second of all, I'm not retaining anything that is going in there. So I'm like, I'm so grandma in that way. Also, my grandma showed me something on my phone yesterday, and I was like, wow, that's embarrassing. That is embarrassing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So that's how I write my songs.
So with these songs, and as we look to your third year now with Look Around.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experiences in the past.
Yeah.
Kind of any highlights in the past, and then from your set, you have obviously not expecting you to have it all done, but like people are gonna look for those songs from you. They're gonna look from your energy. They're gonna look to the emotion that you're gonna get through everything that's going on there, and kind of talk about what it's like working with Look Around and all that stuff. Specifically, also like with Nikki, working with Nikki.
Yeah. So like I said, since the beginning of my music career, I've been very close with Nikki and Rob. Rob is so awesome too. Like I've sometimes done the Moose Lodge. They have a open mic, and he Just a Little Girl, that song that I was talking about, that's his favorite one of my songs, and he likes to put bass on it. Nice. And that makes me feel so cool. I made it in the world. But yeah, so Look Around Festival, the first year, it was right after I had met Nikki, and it was so cool. I was kind of saying, it's so much of a community builder, and after Look Around Festival, I knew so many more musicians that were local, and so many more of them were Elise, and another side note is that so many of the local musicians, we go to each other's gigs all the time. Almost every gig in town, either Nikki and Rob or Peter Peak or this guy Kiko, he worked at Love Again Local, vegan sandwich shop. He was just at my gig on Sunday. So many different local shop owners, local musicians support each other, and it's so insanely cool. And Nikki has been to so many of my gigs too. It's so cool. Anyway, so working with her though is so insane. She has such a bigger picture outlook, and she gets things done. It's one thing to talk about something and be like, oh, this is gonna be so cool, we're gonna do it, and it never happens. It's everybody. But Nikki is so good at actually taking that and making it actually happen, and it's so insanely cool. And she's very good at branding. She's really good at putting posters together, art, using local artists to put in the posters. She thinks about everything down to the little detail, and it's so crazy. And I've learned so much from her. Just even watching, observing her set up everything. Like I said with the painting thing last year, we were all out there painting, helping decorate. It's just such a cool community building. Everything she does builds a community. It's insane. Even just the littlest details. And then now that I'm opening for Look Around, it's just such a crazy I went the last 2 years as Razor. I was just on another one. It was crazy. And then now to be opening Look Around Festival is so exciting, and it's just it's such a everyone grows together type of vibe with Nikki and everything she does, and it's just so cool. There's a spot for every single person that wants to be involved, and I think that's the coolest thing about the Look Around Festival and everything it has. Even if you're just a random, I was saying, person that walks around Westchester a lot, it's bringing you into the music community and connect. It really connects you. You're not leaving Look Around Festival without meeting a bunch of new people and having those connections forever. And because they're all local, you see so many of them in town. Like I said, people hate going into town with me. All my friends are I'm not going to town with you, because I always end up seeing 8 million people, and everyone's oh yeah, and then we have long conversations. And
and that'll be. I'm gonna warn you. It's also gonna be a thing when you're dating people.
Oh, I already have
I was the same way. They get really annoying.
Oh,
it's you can't sit down at it. You can't go over with
you can't. I've been on a couple of random dates, or oh, I'll put you up and we'll go into town. I'm oh, that was a bad decision, because everyone's Elise, and some of them are guys I've also seen at things. I'm oh my gosh. And I used to work for Cocoon. It's a house remodeling company, and they do a lot of stuff in town too. And My friend's parents own it, and whenever we were like setting up for anything or tearing down, like one day it was like Rob walked by, gave me a hug. My boss is like, "Who are these cool guys that you're hugging? Like, who are these people?" And I was like, and then like Justin from Artillery, Jeremiah from Turks had walked by, Peter Peak walked by. I was like, "Why are all these?" And my boss is like, "Why do you know all these older guys?" And I was like, "Bro, from music, but it's so awesome, and everyone's so loving and cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's really so awesome. It's just like."
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, definitely from an outside perspective, you kind of wonder what's going on.
Yeah, people are like, "What?" Because some people just don't understand the vibes.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
but it's just that's the cool thing. Another thing about Look Around is that people all ages. Like, I was 17 when I first went to Look Around, and I was making friends with these 40-year-old dudes, 50-year-old dudes, like these older ladies, like all these people, all different ages, all different everything, backgrounds, like everything. And like they're all doing different things too. And like everyone's just so connected though. Like, because you're all there just for the same reason.
And it's wild too. Like once you get to a geographical thing too.
Yeah.
My history like also expanded outside of Philadelphia to like a mid-Atlantic thing.
Yeah.
So I had a musician from the UK. I had a musician from New York. All these other places. And what happened was because they were all part of the FreeMind network.
Yeah.
Part of that. I called it the family at the time, but I stopped calling it that because I hate when people call it family.
Yeah.
And I guess it was when I became a father. I immediately couldn't hear that out of anybody that wasn't. Like,
no,
it's not really
you're not my kid, actually.
So I started calling it whatever. But from that, they then began to book shows with each other in other geographical regions. Yeah.
That has happened too. I played in Nashville a couple times. And
I saw your Bluebird thing.
Yes, I played a Bluebird, and I also opened for a band at this party. And Zach Jenkins and his brother, they're like super talented, and they literally did a bill with Seth Witcher from here, and he had just moved there. And I DM'd him. I was like, "Hey, like, I know Seth, like, you should get to know him and talk. He's really cool."
Nice.
So they like hung out, and like now they're connected in
Nice.
Nashville. Like, it is so cool to see how much like people just get connected that are so far away from each other, and then just happen to be in the same place. Like,
it's great, and a lot of people don't realize too. Like there's one client, Will Knox, he's still a musician, and I was even signing his like papers for the government for his visa.
Wow,
and,
that's
like, I was
crazy.
blown away like that music can do that. Like,
Yeah,
that was where it was really like
yes.
that was where music became a business in my mind. And I'm like, when I'm writing I did it for 2 or 3 years, like where I wrote to the government for his working visa.
His working visa.
And so I had to verify all the work we did and verify all the
It's like, wow, this is like a real.
Yeah, like
yeah.
it was, and that was like I was 25, 24 at that time.
That's crazy.
And so like that's why
You just rent a car.
Yeah,
and
I actually could. So that's funny you said that because we went somewhere for a show and I couldn't rent the car and I didn't realize it the first time I realized
when I was in Nashville, I was like, "Oh shoot, I can't rent a car."
I was in Denver
crazy.
and we went to Denver for a show at Red Rocks and I didn't know that you had to be 25. I just assumed, and being my personality with some movers, I figured I'd rent the car when I got to the
And then in Hawaii that happened, and then I ended up making friends with someone that gave us a ride. I'm like, that's just how it goes.
That's
like,
what happened.
We always figure it out. Yeah.
I said, who do I know from Denver? I was like, I know Alex and I knew Matt. Let me give him a call.
Yeah.
So excellent. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking the time for this. This is as easy as it was, and I'm looking forward to a ton more conversations with you.
For sure.
There's a lot of ideas from the stuff you were sharing, from what you're doing. Just letting people know, and for yourself too. Kind of closing out. Let people know any handles and everything like that for social media. If you have website handles, anything like that. Yep.
My Instagram and I think Facebook. My mom wants Facebook. I have no clue how to work Facebook. But it's all Elise Acoustic, and I'm thinking about. I don't have any other things set up right now. We're still working on that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So in between now and Look Around, so these will kind of come out, and if you want to any other shows that are between now and Look Around, depending on when this episode gets dropped, I'll drop it out. That's an old date or anything. I know tonight you have Jenkins time.
Yeah,
I'll pop them up. I'll pop them up on there.
Perfect. That's perfect.
You're good.
Perfect.
So thank you so much, and we're gonna go through with another one here, and I want to set some time aside with you while I'm here. I'm like 50-50, like I said, between New York and here. I'd love to, I'm gonna talk to Nikki tonight, and then after I talk to her, she may take it on or whatever else. Definitely will talk to you about what you're doing and any way that we can help grow what you're doing.
That'd be sick,
So,
yeah.
yep.
And thank you for doing this. This is super cool.
Oh, this is we're just getting started. Yeah.
Thing. That's so cool.
Yeah, we're just getting started. Tell your parents.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
I want my FN TV.
Yeah, my dad will eat that up. Like, that's so awesome.
We're gonna have T-shirts, stickers.
Oh yeah, he has holes in his MTV one, so perfect.
That's awesome. Elise, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna get you a hug in there.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
If you're an aspiring entrepreneur or one that's looking to expand, contact the FreeMind Network today and we'll help you scale, we'll help you start. We're going to be there for you in your corner.
You know my story, right? Rise to fame from the